It was April in the year 2000. The Phantom Menace had just come out a year prior, and two things about video games were distinctly different from 2025. Well, okay, a lot of things were different, but two important things. One, we used to get movie tie-in games a lot across all kinds of platforms. If a major film was releasing, there was at least one, usually several games coming out to coincide with it. And two, a type of genre of game existed, a categorization that transcended traditional genres and had a much more specific case, the rental game. Some people watching this video will be too young to remember this, and I promise this won't be a you kids video, but there was a time when you would be going to a friend's house for the day or a sleepover or whatever the case may be, and before, or sometimes during, you would hit your local rental store, and while at Blockbuster, you would peruse the aisles for a game that you could play together that night, and try to beat in the week or two you had it before you were forced to return it to the store. Some of these games would create incredible memories of an ephemeral experience of beating a game in what felt like record time, and some would leave you wondering what life would have been like if you had just picked up the other game. Welcome to Holocron Hoard, a channel with a simple mission to play every Star Wars game ever made and find the best one. Today we'll be covering Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, an action platforming movie tie-in game for the Phantom Menace that was recently remastered and released on modern platforms. As always, if you like this video or the idea for the channel and want to support me, the best way to do it really is hitting the like button and leaving a comment. You can write whatever you want down there, you can write papaya for all I care, but doing those two things in addition to subscribing helps new channels like this one an incredible amount. Now, let's dive into Jedi Power Battles. For the purposes of this project, I played the 2025 remaster. As mentioned in other videos, I always want to be as true to the original experience as possible. But in the case of remasters, it's sort of a judgment call between what the authentic experience is and what people watching this video would be most likely to engage with. In this case, since I feel like most people would be more likely to play the pretty new, at the time of this recording, remaster, I went that route. Before I start talking about how the game feels, let's talk about what the game actually is. This game is a 3D beat-em-up game, a type of game not uncommon in the early 2000s, but mixes in a lot of platforming elements throughout the levels. The game very loosely follows the plot of the Phantom Menace, very loosely, and has you take control of one of the 9 characters as you navigate the 10 levels, culminating in a boss battle with Darth Maul. The characters between the original and the remaster are a little different, but they shake out like this. Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Plo Koon, and Adigalia were all playable characters in the original release. Queen Amidala, Captain Panaka, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Darth Maul were all unlockable characters in the original, but are unlocked by default in the remaster. The remaster is supposed to include a new secret roster of characters as well that includes Jar Jar Binks, a pilot droid, a rifle Tusken Raider, a mercenary, a flame droid, a Rodian, a Gungan guard. There's a lot, and they're all supposed to be unlocked by completing the game on any difficulty level, but I did beat the game, and I don't have any of them unlocked, and I don't know why. All of these characters have different unlockable combos and force abilities that become available to you over the course of playing the game, with some agency to what order you unlock the combos. The attacks in this game also have pretty clear-cut animations and commitment, and the characters have different speeds, which means swapping from character to character will require some changes to your playstyle. I actually started the game as Plo Koon and was getting wrecked, and then swapped to Qui-Gon and had a much better time, so I played Qui-Gon for the rest of the game. The remainder of the characters, well, more on that in a minute. The game also has 4 bonus modes included. A wave-based survival mode, a mode where you play soccer using Jar Jar Binks as a ball called Gungan Roundup, a race mode called Kadu Race, and a mode just called Droidicas, where you roll around as a droidica and try to kill Naboo pilots. Now, I've talked about how the game functions, and normally by this point in the video, I would also have given you my thoughts on the gameplay so that we could dive into the story, Legends versus Canon, etc. But for this game, none of that really applies. This game doesn't really have a story. It has a very, very loose interpretation of the Phantom Menace movie, but stretched out over a lot more time and 10 levels instead of 2.25 hours. So instead, this is going to be a short video because we're skipping all that and we're just talking about if it's fun or not. Now, I consider myself generally a pretty positive person. Life is too short for otherwise. So I pretty much always try to find something to like in any media I consume one way or the other. With Power Battles, that was tough. I think the Jar Jar soccer mode is pretty funny for like 1 or 2 rounds. There's also a level in this game that's basically Temple Run on a speeder bike through Theed, and you know what? I actually enjoyed that level. Wish it had better checkpoints, but I enjoyed that level. I also think that the idea behind having progression across all these characters is cool and gives the game a ton of replayability in terms of combos and different character types, it's a great feature in a game you actually want to replay. Jedi Power Battles is not that game. This is a game that simply has not aged well from a gameplay perspective. The animation cycles don't feel methodical, they just feel clunky. The controlling of the characters themselves feels slow, often actually delayed, and because you unlock force powers and combos over time, the beginning portions of the game feel really repetitive as you're using functionally the same moves over and over again. I went back in just to try and play a few more characters to get a sense of how they play, but honestly, even playing the ranged characters I don't feel creates a meaningful enough difference to warrant additional playthroughs. And the clunky controls mean that anytime the game asks you to do platforming, it kind of sucks, which is really unfortunate for the game because it asks you to do platforming a lot. This game is an exercise in frustration when it comes to combat with multiple enemies. The lock-on mechanic doesn't work particularly well. You will find yourself constantly falling to your death or missing jumps that it seems like you really should have made. Overall, it's just a really tough package. Getting through it felt like a slog, and by the end of it, my reaction wasn't, I want to go try a new character. It was, I hope none of the bonus minigame modes require me to platform. The mall fight at the end is probably the highlight of the game, which makes the fact that you can just skip to any level a little better. But if you haven't leveled any of the characters, that fight is gonna suck. There is a single highlight in the Yoda laugh that insanely plays every time you pick up a power-up. That one is worthy of a Discord soundboard. It's nuts, and you hear it so often. Also, and this probably isn't a fair complaint, certainly not a fair final complaint, but what are we doing with the font in this game? Is it just Arial? I don't remember what font the original game used, but holy guacamole, it feels like we could have done something with this guy. Every single UI power-up and pop-up looks like it's from a Roblox. Actually, you know what? As I type that, I can't help but think this is basically a Roblox game. Somebody could just build this game in Roblox. It might actually play better as a Roblox game than it does here. So my answer to the question is simple. I do not think this game is particularly fun to play in 2025. Games have come a long way, and this one simply does not hold up, even remastered. And while I haven't gotten to them on this channel, if you want beat 'em up lightsaber combat, I can tell you there are better options for games than this one. So where does it rank? So far, we've ranked 2 games on Holocron Hoard, Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2. Some of you may argue it's not fair to judge this game against those. Those are games with plot, with stories, with characters, with gameplay, with enjoyment. And to that I say, too bad. But against those two, which were just such strong starts, this game sits firmly at the bottom of the list. It might not be there forever, but for now, that's where Jedi Power Battles lies. In 2025, this game doesn't have the juice. I have a lot of fondness and nostalgia for the rental games of yore, for a time when you could grab a game for a weekend and play it, and if you have similar nostalgia for Jedi Power Battles, my recommendation is to leave it untouched and preserve that memory. This is a game that makes me wish I'd rented something else. That's it for this video. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.